Jeremy is back and he's dealing with his addiction. Welcome aboard.
Wow.
So, Jeremy, the reason why you've been gone is you've been dealing with your addiction.
That's true. That is
What's
true.
your addiction?
And to be honest, I'm doing it. I'm doing it all on my own. I'm not going to rehab
No,
or anything. I'm
no,
just doing it.
now, I don't want you to be playing around, and I think you need to don't be plastic. I mean, this is not just some kind of vinyl problem.
Wow.
It involves a needle, and I think you need to come clean.
Yeah, I've been mainlining.
Well, you've been running the line.
That's
You know.
true. I have.
Do you want to
I
tell
have.
everybody about your addiction?
I
Your new addiction.
I regretfully have gotten into records, and
Wait, you now have a record.
I bought record player. I bought record player.
You
I bought a
you
record player.
You do not speak English.
I don't.
Welcome to the English version of this.
No, I don't speak English well. Actually, to tease somebody who listens, Anglish. I don't speak Anglish well.
Do you not speak English?
I don't speak English.
Oh, that's sad. So tell us about this record player addiction. By the way, really quick, this is our first outside of the studio. We broke the studio down because you do have something going on, which is why you haven't been around.
I do have a personal issue going on right now, and so I haven't been around, and Seth was gracious enough to break it all down and bring it all to where I'm at. And we are in this cavernous room, and we're learning that, the microphones, you really got to pay attention to where you're at on the microphone in this cavernous room.
Yeah, otherwise you're not listening. So we got headsets
That is
on.
true. We do. I really am dealing with something there, but yes, I have an addiction,
which has nothing to do with a real addiction. It's an issue. I don't want to say what it is.
People in my life might tell me that I've got a problem with it. I'm gonna lie. And I'm starting to realize that I'm at that point where you've been on the bender for about 48 hours, and you're like, maybe I should stop.
No, is the bender this, or is it
the bender on the?
Okay, yeah. So let's go ahead and tell us about your new addiction.
So over Christmas, I decided, actually just before Christmas, I decided, some friends of mine were talking. Thank you. I turned my head from the mic. Some friends of mine were like, "Oh, you've got to listen to records. You got to do this. Oh, it sounds so amazing." Blah blah blah. The last record player I had, it said Fisher Price. Okay. That's the last record player I had.
And I just took a sip of tea.
So
I got tea coming out of my nose right now.
So I was like, yeah, whatever. CDs are better. I had cassettes. I had all this. No, I'm not playing records. I think I had the record that had the Fox and the Hound from Disney. That's the last record I had with the Fisher Price record player. So, just to give you an idea of where I was in my life. And I just, no. And so finally, a friend of mine was like, listen, do yourself a favor, try it. Just buy it on Amazon. If you don't like it, you can return it. And I'm like, you know what? All right, fine. And I thought, just to hedge my bets, because I have some friends that like records and stuff, I bought like 3 or 4 different types of records to play on this record player. So I bought a record player, and it wasn't a stupid expensive one. I paid like $150 for it. So that's, to me, that felt like a lot for a record player. But when I started looking at pricing, and it's like there's this gap between $150 and $6,000. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my gosh. And so I stopped at the 150 number. And I bought the record player, and I bought one thinking ahead, if I did like it. I bought one that was Bluetooth capable, so that if I did want to take it someplace with me, I could just carry one of my good Bluetooth speakers. So anyway, I bought this record player. It's like, whatever. And I bought a couple. Is it not right? What?
No, just get closer.
There you go. Whatever. I understand this is actually a fairly cavernous room, and
it
is. As soon as I point my lips anywhere but the microphone, it just dies out. So anyway, but so I bought it, and I bought a couple records, and I listened to them, and I was like, it sounds pretty good. It sounds kind of like a CD, though. It kind of sounds like streaming. I just kind of.
And how many records did you start with?
I bought some used ones from like a thrift store. So 3 or 4 like used ones, and 2 or 3 brand new ones. Incidentally, couldn't tell the difference between the two, to be honest. But went through it all, did all that, and I was like, actually. And so I finally grabbed one of the songs, because I wasn't sure and I wasn't really sold on it. Grabbed one of the songs and played it on Blank Tube Music. I don't know if I can say that or not. Can we call it a company?
Yeah, you can call it a
Yeah. I
company.
mean, we're on that format, right?
Yeah, no, you can
So,
call it a company, you
so
just
on
can't, like.
YouTube Music, which I have a streaming service, I pulled up that exact song, that exact album, and hit play on it, and then I immediately dropped the needle on that and played that the
The
record
record
player
player.
through the same exact speaker. Very scientific here, right?
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, you really did hear better. It did come through with different tones. They were subtle, but once you knew they were there, it was like I can't not hear it. You know what I mean? I can't. It's there now. I know that it's not. It's kind of a one note when
It
it's on the phone.
it sounds so much better on vinyl.
It does. It
It
really does. I can hear
here's
the depth of it. I know that sounds stupid, and I am not an audiophile. I'm a guy that's losing my hearing, and I got ringing in my ears all the time. But you can I can hear the depth between like a saxophone and a drum, where on the streaming service it just sounded kind of all there like hold music.
here's the difference. Okay, on vinyl, it's a much more warm sound, but you also get crackle. Whether you hear it or not, there's that little bit there that's always there, and it has a much warmer tone. And what happened is when they went digital, it is super clean. And I remember I've been in bands
Yeah,
before, and
yeah.
I remember us putting a track of just crackle in there
Really?
and some things so it didn't sound so clean digital. And the other problem is when people used to record in the past,
Yeah. Okay.
back in the day when you played music, if you listen to the old songs, the Beatles, you go back to Kiss,
Sure.
you go back to the original stuff,
Yeah.
Elvis, whatever,
Clapton.
they were a little off. The
Yes.
note there was a little bit, even the best musicians had a little bit of slop. Go back to the original Motley Crue album that
Yes. Actually, those
the
older albums that I was talking about, I've been listening to a lot of them on streaming, and that's why when I stumbled across them as an older used album, I was like, I'm gonna buy that.
you go to Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love, and it's sloppy,
Okay.
but that gave it
It's character.
its character.
Yeah.
Even and what's interesting, if I've seen people do this, analyzing now that we have the technology. Judy Garland, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. They've
Mhm.
actually analyzed it, and you can actually see her voice is actually a little too low or a little too high, and it's right around the note, but it's just a little too high or a little too low, technically. And today they would make that pitch perfect.
They would auto-tune it
They would
to a perfect
auto-tune it
level.
to make it perfect. But that takes out the soul
Yeah.
of music. And with vinyl, you get that soul. And today, I mean, I've even seen people they're playing and stuff, and you're having a bad time in the studio, it's just not clicking that day. They will snip out a small section and just copy paste, copy paste. So every time that it's played, it's perfect. It has no personality, but
Ah,
it's dead
I
on
see, I
perfect.
see.
And you could literally, it's just like if I wanted to with editing, you can move things around and build things that just weren't
I've
there.
Oh, I've had you do that.
Yeah,
We've
I
had issues, and you've actually, like, seamed in things that I'm not gonna say I didn't say, but you grabbed snippets from other spots and
yeah,
put
and I
them
popped
in,
it in just
and
like
it
you
was
said a
like
word wrong. Like
yeah,
instead of saying amendments, you said constitution. So I've
yeah,
grabbed amendments.
yeah.
I'm not doing that anymore. Now it's just let it
Yeah,
roll.
now we just let it roll, but yeah, I mean,
But
at
originally,
times you've done it and you've run it by me, and I'm like, "You sure I didn't say that?" And yeah, no, but that's the one thing so I guess I should say I'm kind of fully addicted to the vinyl.
well,
And
yeah, it's becoming a new thing. People are going back to vinyl
yeah,
because it just sounds
dare I
better.
say, and I'm sitting here in a very yellow farmhouse style room, and I'm sitting here with you alone, but dare I say, the vinyl sounds romantic. It sounds like something that I expect to sit and listen to, not something I turn on in the background while I
I just
do
want to point
something
out
else.
our second biggest video of the last 48 hours is a short that says we're not gay. And now
It's
and
funny.
this sounds romantic.
I just meant that. I mean, when I turn on music, it's usually because I'm going to go do something else and I need background noise. I have found when I turn on the vinyl, when I sit down, it's funny. I mean, and people who know me know I don't sit still very long. I am not one of those people that wants to sit still. If I turn on something, it's better catch my attention and grab all my ADD, or else I'm up and doing something else in 5 minutes. Um, or at least keeping myself busy while it's going. With the vinyl, I've noticed that I am absolutely okay just sitting there holding a soda or water or whatever I'm drinking at the time and just sitting in almost dark room just listening to the music, and it just almost calms you. And I don't I I I know this is silly, and there's going to be at least one person that scientifically stands out and goes, "Nope, look at the decibels, look at the tracks, look at this." But it just feels different.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there is something to, I remember you'd take out the record and you'd just stare at it and you'd read that little sticker that's in the
Mhm.
middle and you'd
Mhm.
read every word of it. And then you'd look at the front of the album and then you'd look at the back of the album. And if you were really lucky, you would open it up and there might be some stickers in there or some extra prize in there or a poster in
Oh
there.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was a really big deal back then, where now you just download it in seconds, you
Yeah.
have it. There's
Mhm.
nothing really to look at it. And the other thing is album art.
That's true.
Y-
All of these, I really enjoy looking at the album art, and a lot of them are double disc sets now and stuff. And it's interesting because I think they charge more for that, but they're not. And you've got the inside fold, and you've got this, and you've got that, and you've got all the lyrics written out. It really is kind of an immersive experience now compared to just hit play on YouTube Music and move on.
Oh yeah. And it's funny because here's the other thing. Today's music, it
Oh, today's music sucks.
sounds the same. And a lot of it is because there's something, I believe it's called the Music Factory. It's like 6 or 8 people last time I checked, and they write a majority of the top 40 stuff that's coming out. That's why it all sounds the same. They have certain rules, like within 20 seconds you have to be at the chorus. It all sounds the same. Most of
You
these
know,
people do not write their own songs.
it's funny, and I know you do not like this genre of music. I like country. You don't. I get it. But
No, no, no. You've gotten me a little bit into country, and I will say this: country women, ones with the hat, the boots, and you know, some of them are kind of hot. I got to admit.
I got to admit, there's something about a country woman, but still, the one thing interesting that I've noticed is I tend to lean towards the artist in country, and they're all young. They're all young, and they all sound like that 1970s. They sound like that George Strait. They sound like that Garth Brooks. They sound like the Oak Ridge Boys. They sound, and I know you're looking at this going, I have no idea who these people are, but they all sound like that
Now I know
old
the Oak Ridge.
70s, 80s sound, and that on vinyl just makes a huge difference. And then I found out something else just the other day. This is how nerdy I've got about it.
Okay.
One of the guys that's up and coming, his name's Tanner Usury. Um, he actually recorded the entire LP on 45, and I had to go deep dive and understand this because I listened to the whole thing and I'm like, I don't know, there's something wrong. This sounds really wrong. And then I realized I had it on the wrong speed.
Yeah, you had on 33 and a
Because it was
third.
because it was a big album, and that's what I thought it was. But he recorded it all on 45, which costs more and all this other
Yeah,
stuff.
because
But it makes the music better. It was interesting to hear it because I had never heard of it. I even asked my parents, who are in their 70s, and they're like, "You don't play LPs on a 45," and I'm like, "This one recorded on it."
the other thing that happened back then, I think it was the Jay Giles band. They
Mm-hmm.
had a
Centerfold.
song, at least, a song called "Love Stinks." And on
Mm-hmm.
one of
I
their
remember
albums,
that.
they did a whole speech, and on the front side, it would end, the guy goes, "And love," and then you'd have to flip the album over, and he
Ah,
goes, "Stinks," and they go into the song "Love Stinks." Well, when they had 8 tracks back then, they had to rearrange the order of certain albums and certain songs so that different mediums could handle it. Where digital, it doesn't matter.
that's
It
true.
can
Yeah,
go, there's no limit,
yeah.
really. I mean, realistically for an album. So, yeah, vinyl's coming back, and I don't see it replacing
So
digital, but I
no,
think vinyl is definitely here to stay.
and I will say this to go with my addiction. I don't know, Seth, look over there. How many do you think estimate?
You've got about 25 or so on the shelf, and then you have 2 unopened boxes. Hang on. 2 or 3 unopened boxes on the floor
And
that
yeah,
look like they're chock full
There's at
I
least 2 or so in each one of those
you
boxes,
know,
and
if
then
you
I've got more coming.
you know, if the best thing you could
Uh,
do is help Jeremy out. Help us get to we want 1,000 subscribers so we can start getting paid for this, and we're gonna use all that money, the first initial things,
to pay
to
off the credit card.
help Jeremy buy some more albums. So if you reach down, hit that like, hit that subscribe, comment, and that way, it would really help Jeremy's brand new vinyl addiction.
Yeah,
And, we might have to put him into therapy for this. But, we'd really appreciate you being a Teachers and Train Station subscriber.
and if you have any vinyl to send me, I can message you my address.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Send a message, send a comment, say, hey, you got extra vinyls. We will give you a place you could send it. And Jeremy, anything heavy metal I get.
That you know what? Okay, and with that, we'll see you at the next stop.